Okay, let's get going. So I'd like you to take your feet hip width apart and just stand nice and tall for me, please. Really lengthen through the spine. Come into your lovely posture. Feet are hip width apart. Knees are soft. Tuck the tail under slightly. Open through the collarbone so the shoulder blades are stabilized. Hands down by the sides. And just pop the chin back slightly as if you're about to give yourself a double chin. Won't do it. Not attractive. So you've got a nice line. Ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle. And just take a moment to breathe. So the breathing in Pilates is thoracic, lateral thoracic breathing. So you're breathing through the rib cage. As you inhale through the nose, you feel the ribs expand. As you exhale through the mouth, the ribs release. Breathing in nice and deeply, just a couple of deep breaths to begin with, then breathe naturally. And as you exhale, we do a small side bend. As you inhale, release. Let's go to the other side, same thing. Small side bend, one side to the other. Try not to push the hip out as you do this side bend. Don't overthink it. The hips to the floor, nice and still. And the movement is through the waist and the upper body. Hold it here to center. And we're going to set our abdominal core. So drawing in through the transverse abdominis, and that's that deeper layer of muscle, abdominal muscle, connecting rib cage to hips. And you're going to draw up through the pelvic floor, just to floor 3, 30% transverse abdominis, so your core is set. And as you breathe out, float the hands up to shoulder height. As you breathe in, float slowly down. Exhale, float the hands up. Inhale, float the hands down. Make sure the shoulders don't lift up. And make sure that the rib cage doesn't lift up as well. Keep that going. I'll show you side on. You've got that lovely neutral spine. Talk about that in a bit. Hands float up to shoulder height and slowly down. So the timing is with the breathing. Breathe out as you lift. Okay, just hold the hands shoulder height and we're going to sit back for a squat and release. So the bottom drops behind you. Exhale, squat. Inhale, release. Keep that going. So make sure that the knees don't come forwards. The knees don't come past the toes when you're doing your squat. Also make sure that the back stays in neutral. So neutral spine is the anatomically correct position for the back to be in. It's got a natural curve at the base of the spine. When you do your squat, don't round the back. Don't stick the head up in the air. You've got a nice line, crown of the head to tail. One more like that. And release and roll the shoulders back. Let's do a gentle torso twist. Again, think about your nice posture. Tail tucked under, neutral spine, core lightly set, and just cross the fingertips onto the tops of the arms. Don't overthink this, elbows down. Keeping the hips facing forwards. As you breathe out, you turn. As you breathe in, you come back to center, go the other way, exhale, turn. Inhale, release. So the hips stay facing forwards. Imagine you've got car headlights shining on your hips and you don't want the light from those headlights to turn. So you keep the hips forwards and you turn through the upper body. So there's no twist on the knee. Now make sure you only take that as far as feels comfortable. Breathe out as you turn. Breathe in as you release. Core stays lightly set. Pelvic floor slightly lifted. And this will warm up through the lower back. So it's really important that you always do a warm-up. Just release the hands there and roll the shoulders back. So if you ever join in with any class online, you must make sure you're there on time. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Joe Wicks or Zumba, don't miss the warm-up. If you miss the warm-up, you're increasing the risk of injuring yourself. If you know, some basic moves like that, you can join in late as long as you do a couple of minutes of mobility movement through all of the big joints and muscle groups so that you're warmed up before you begin. Okay, the first exercise we're going to do is a Pilates roll down into a press up. And we're going to do one roll down, one press up, and one roll up. So if you know this move, you're a client of mine, work away. Oh, I'm losing my ball. Work away. Remember to keep your core set. Remember your breathing. If you've never seen this before, I want you to stay with me. Watch what we're doing to begin with, and then I'll talk about alternatives and what you can do to make it easier or harder. So if you've never done this before, it's really important you watch the first one. So you come to the end of your mat. You've got your lovely posture, tail tucked under. And we're just going to start with the movement itself. As I say, if you already know this one, work away. But it roll down, the tail stays towards the floor. You begin with the head, then the shoulders, upper back, center back. Slowly roll down as far as you feel comfortable. And that's going to be different for everybody. Then bend the knees to get to the floor. Walk forwards onto the hands into a press up position. Now you can choose a simple box press up. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. You can choose a 3/4 press up, keeping the core set. If you've already been exercising and you're strong through the upper body, you could choose a full press up. I wouldn't do that. I'm going to show you one box press up, bending the elbows, keeping the weight forwards in the hands. Then keep the hands where they are, tuck the toes under, bring the knees away from the floor, and slowly walk back to the feet and roll up. Lifting the arms up, keep the core set, bringing the hands down, and we can go again. Chin drops down, keeping the tail towards the floor, stretching into the backs of the legs. Just choose your press up position. Keep the weight forwards, keep the back in neutral. Coming up tall, lift, core stay set. And we can go again. So you breathe out as you roll down. Breathe in as you walk forwards. Breathe out as you lower for your press up. Breathe in as you release. Exhale as you walk back towards the feet. Inhale, come up. Exhale, hands. Inhale, lower. Exhale, roll. So keep that going. And there's a couple of things to try to remember here. Number one, if you're new, don't worry too much about the breathing. That can take time. Just don't over-breathe. Breathe naturally. That's the important thing. If there's any problems through osteoporosis in the spine, I don't want you to do that roll down, okay? That's forward flexion. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. So the alternative, if there's any problem with that roll down, I'll show you that now. So if that's you, just stop and have a look. The alternative would be staying down on your mat. You do your press up, and then you do a knee hover. So you tuck the toes under and you take the knees away from the mat, just a tiny bit, and slowly down. So the alternative is a press up and a knee hover. Okay, so we're getting to that point that we've done enough. You do listen to your body, you stop when it suits you. If you have that experience and you're already a client of mine, I'm sort of expecting you to keep going quite fluidly all the way through. What I want you to do is finish down on the mat and have a rest, have a drink. I'm going to see if I can take this a little bit closer. So bear with me. Hope I don't give you motion sickness in the process. There. So grab a drink and we'll move on to 4-point kneeling swimming. So 4-point kneeling swimming, this starts to come into the element of precision. So there's 6 key elements of Pilates, and one of them is called precision. Basically, trying to get in exactly the right position. If you know 4-point kneeling swimming, work away. If you've never seen this before, stop, make sure you can see and have a look at what's happening. So the precision element is the position we begin in and the position of the back. So 4-point kneeling position, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, hands shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart, and the back is in neutral. So to get a neutral spine, you can round the back up like an angry cat, you can drop the back out like a sway back cow, and then settle to a midway point between the two, set the core, and then as you breathe out, without twisting, without dropping, without any movement, head to tail, we're going to slide opposite arm to leg away and then slide that back in. To the other side. Exhale, slide away. You can keep the hand and foot down if you want to. Inhale, come back. Personally, I find it easier to stay still with the hand and foot down. So remember, there's no movement through the shoulder, no movement through the hips. This is a strength exercise for the back, but also for the core. So the tummy muscles should be working to keep you still, and the pelvic floor should still be lifted. If you want to make that a little bit easier, you could do just the legs. If it's causing you any problems on the wrists, go down onto the elbows. Keep the head in line with the spine. Back still in neutral, core still set. If you want to make it harder, you extend away, straighten lift, and slowly release under. No drop, no movement. Nice and controlled. So keep that going. Stop whenever suits you. You can always go back to it again. But think about your core staying set. Think about your breath. You breathe out as you slide away. You breathe in as you come back. Think about your precision, trying to get in exactly the right position, back in neutral. Don't move, don't twist, don't drop. There is another element that you could think about here, if you've got the headspace, and that's the flow. So the flow of movement. There's no stop, no start to this. It's seamless with the breath. You should feel this across the shoulders, across the back, through the tummy. It's quite interesting. You know, it's tough on the wrists, but that's not a bad thing. It's building strength and bone density. That's the important thing. And then we can take a rest all together. Sit back for a praying stretch. Okay, we're going to move on from there into a swan dive. And we're just going to do a variation of a swan dive, working through upper body and lower. But what I'll do with this one is I'll demonstrate it at a nice base level, and then we can talk about how to make it harder or easier. It's quite precise, this one, through the pelvis. So it's important that you don't let your pelvis tip and sway. Different instructors teach this in different ways. It doesn't mean it's wrong if your pelvis tips. It's just I like to do it more like that clinical style of Pilates. Pelvis really still, so it's working quite hard through the glutes and the backs of the legs. So if I show you what we're going to do, come down into a prone position, feet hip width apart, hands just outside of the head. And you're going to lift up as you breathe in. As you come down, we're going to do a single leg extension, but keep the pubic bone down in contact with the floor. Then we release the foot, lift up. As you come down, do the other leg. Squeeze through the back of the leg there. I'm just going to move forwards a tiny bit, kicking my water, although I could move the water. So inhale, lift. Hips stay down, exhale, leg. Release the leg and lift. Exhale, do the other leg. Now keep that going, but try to keep the pubic bone in contact with the floor when you do the leg lift. Keep the leg straight. If it's too difficult, don't do the leg. Just work through the upper body. Don't turn this into a press up. It's not a push off the hands. You're using the muscles in the back. Then you're lengthening that movement by propping on the hands. You can make this a bit harder by doing both legs and bringing the arms forwards when the legs extend. Still try to keep the back in neutral. Try to keep the pubic bone down. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as you come down. Now you should feel this one through the back, but it shouldn't hurt in the back. You should also feel it on the backs of the legs, through the glutes, through the shoulders. But it shouldn't hurt. Make sure you understand the difference between something hurting and something being hard work. Don't overthink the breathing. Do breathe naturally. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as you come down and do the legs. And it's a bit like a seesaw. When the chest is up, the legs are down. When the legs are down, the chest is up. Nice and controlled. Rest whenever suits you. So I better have a quick check of the comments. So keep that going.
I see some people doing these and I don't know how they bounce backwards and forwards all the time. Morning, Sue. Hello, Sarah. I hope you and Richard are in the garden doing this one. Morning, Di. You can always send me pictures of your PJs. Morning, Kerry. Hello, Janet. Oh, Claire. Hope you got the kids involved. Emma, nice to see you. Julia, lovely to see you as well. See you, you know what I mean. Okay, finish up on that one. If there is any problem or any pain or you've got any questions, just tippity tap in on the messages and I'll have a look and have a check. So have a rest, grab a drink, sit back for a stretch on that one and we'll move on. Okay, we're going to come to seated. Now this is one of my favourite ones at the minute. It's a seated teaser. Again, we'll build it up layer by layer to a point where you feel that it's enough effort for you. And that's where you sort of stop off and stick with that layer. But what we're going to do, we'll start this one seated, sitting up nice and tall. So really lengthen through the spine, seat bones down into your mat. We're going to begin this movement with a half roll back. So if you just have a look, especially if you're new, what's happening head to tail here. You drop the tips of the rib cage down towards the hips. So it's C-shaped through the spine. Your tummy muscles are engaging and shortening to do this movement. Then the legs can slide towards you, hands behind the legs, a bit of support if you need. Lift the feet so the lower part of the leg is parallel with the floor. Then lower the feet, slide the feet away and come up tall using the tummy muscles. So we'll make that a bit smoother all together. Exhale, roll, engage through the tummy, feet towards you, lift the legs. The less weight you take behind the hands, the harder this becomes. Slowly release and come up tall. Exhale, roll back, C-shape through the spine, feet come towards you. Inhale, lift. Now to make this a little bit harder, don't hold on behind the legs, but make sure that you're feeling this through the tummy, not the back. Do that again. I'll show you an alternative. It's a bit too much. You can lift just one leg. Concentrate on the core staying set. If you want to make this harder again, remember C-shape engagement. Don't hold on. Hands come towards ankles and slowly down. Again, make sure you're feeling that in the tummy, not the back. If you're feeling this in the back, you've perhaps not engaged through your core muscles or you've made it too difficult. You can always hold on to the backs of the legs to take a little bit of pressure off the lower back. And to make this harder again, there's two things you can do. You can take hold of the ankles, extend the legs straight, and then slowly release. Even harder again, and I'm not even sure if I could do it. The hands extend away, legs straighten, and slowly back to where we were. So keep that going. However, the thing is, I felt that last one on my back, so that was a little bit too much for me personally. I'm just going to get rid of a message that's popped up so I can't really see what's happening. So I'll get rid of this message. Somebody chit-chatting. Okay, so remember to stop whenever suits you. Take your time. Your timing is with your breathing. Is anybody out in the garden? Let me know if you are. My poor neighbours. Hopefully I'm not too bad. So this is a strength exercise for the tummy. You will also feel it on the thighs, but you shouldn't feel it up in the hip joint or on the back. If you do, please stop, go back a layer, make it easier, or just sit this one out. I don't want it to hurt. Okay, take a rest from there. Reach forwards over the legs for a stretch. Okay, So what I'd like to do now is saw, and saw is a seated exercise. So with saw, we're going to take the feet nice and wide and sit up nice and tall. So you're trying to get your pelvis nice and straight and tall. So you're on the seat bones. You can feel the seat bones poking down into your mat. You're not tipped back. So let me show you that from side on. Nice and tall, seat bones down, don't roll and tip back. If you find this too difficult because it's tight through the hamstrings, just bring the soles of the feet together, sit nice and tall, and the most important thing is this length through the spine. And we can start this off at a nice base level. If you've got the feet together, the arms extend open, shoulder blades down the back, and we turn. One hand goes on the floor behind you, and you reach past this knee and release. We'll talk about the position of the back in a minute. Do the other side. Exhale, hand down behind you, reach forwards with the arm. Showing you that with the feet wide, hand down behind you, and you're leaning forwards from the hip. You're not rounding forwards through the upper body. Not for me, not today. Inhale, go to the other side, hand down, and you lean. So you're trying to actually keep the back in neutral as you lean forwards. So keep that going. So neutral spine, if you remember, we've got that lovely anatomically correct position through the spine. So you've got a natural curve here. Shoulder blades are down, collarbone is open, okay? Pelvis is almost slightly tucked under, and you're trying to maintain that position as you lean. So don't round. Rest whenever you need. You will feel this one through the upper back, and don't forget, you can make it easier by just reaching without the seat bones lifting. Harder again. One hand stays up behind you, and you look at this hand behind you. Core stays set. Other side. Look at the hand behind you. Core stays set. So you're using your tummy muscles and your back muscles to sit up straight, not your hips. If at any point you need to have a rest, just stop, have a short rest, and you can always come back to it. We keep talking about how noisy the birds are at the minute. I think it's just because there's no background noise anywhere. I don't need any music on. I've got birds everywhere. Okay, let's release that one. Bring the feet closer. Hands reach towards the toes and hold it there. Okay, we're going to come onto our back. So again, grab a drink if you've got one. If you've got any questions, just let me know, tippity tap. So we're going to do the 100. So again, I need you just to watch this one. And those of you who know what you're doing, do just hang fire. Have a look, because we'll start all together, because we are going to pulse for a particular amount of time. So I need us all to start together. But your 100, you've got several different options on this one. The easiest level on this one is single leg fold, lift and pulse. Single leg fold means that 90 degrees on the knee, knee above hip, okay? Little bit harder than that one is double leg fold, lift, pulse. Notice I'm not pulsing through the upper body, it's just the arms. The back is in neutral, okay? The core is set. If it becomes too much through the head, just support lightly. Don't pull on the neck, just support the head with the hand so you pulse. To make it harder again, we can do one leg extended. You could do both legs extended if you wanted to. Back stays in neutral. support the head if you need. And we're going to breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a round of 10. We're going to do that 10 times up to 100. And you should feel this in the tummy, not the back. So choose the level you want to do, and we can do it all together. Back stays in neutral, core stays set, lifting with the upper body, and we can pulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Round 2. So just make sure, remember, you can support the head if you want to. Round 3. You can make this harder by working with both legs. Round 4. Make sure the back stays in neutral and the core set. Round 5. Does that mean you need to change arm? Does it mean you need to change leg? We're halfway there. As long as you can keep your core set well past round 6. So drawing in, pulling up, round 7. Keep lifting through the upper body to make this harder. Pelvic floor lifted, round 8. Breathe nice and controlled. Roughly round 9. And roughly 100. So if you've been counting and you're not there yet, that's fine. You keep going. Let's do a full body stretch. So you should feel that one very much through the tummy. Oh. Highly recommend doing this outside. Just looking at the sky. Okay, let's do shoulder bridge. Shoulder bridge is a very classic one. Very good for the glutes, give you great glutes, hamstrings, mobility through the lower back, and strength, lower back and core. So with your shoulder bridge, bring the feet back towards you. We'll just start off at a nice base level. So if anybody wants to stay at that one, that's fine. So heels are in line with the bottom, with the seat bone, sorry. Back begins in neutral, hands down. Now, as you breathe out, you squeeze the glutes, you tilt the pelvis and you peel the hips slowly, slowly up. Keep squeezing through the glutes. Come up quite high with the hips, but not the rib cage. Don't push the rib cage and the shoulder blades away from the floor. For me, shoulder blades, and you've got a nice line, hip, knee, shoulder. And then we slowly come back down again. So it's a sequential peeling of the spine. So you lift one vertebra at a time. So squeeze the glutes to begin. Exhale, peel and slowly lift. Then slowly lower. Nice and smooth and controlled. Now, if you want to make that harder, you can keep the hips up. Okay, again, don't push through the rib cage. And we can bring one heel away from the floor. I've got a beautiful big bee has just joined me. Then put that heel down, then lift the other heel away from the floor and put that heel down. So at the moment, we're keeping the toes on the floor. So just peeling through the heels. You don't have to do this. You don't have to make it harder. You could keep going with this peeling up and down, particularly if you haven't got a very good lower back. Just keep at this base level up and down. But if everything's okay, make sure you're keeping your core set as you're doing this. I'm losing my top. Keep the core set as you're doing this. So you're drawing in, you're pulling up one heel at a time. Now, if you'd like to make this harder again, the key is not letting the hips drop, but you could lift the foot and put the foot down. Make sure the hips don't drop. Keep the core set. Do the other leg. Also make sure the feet stay hip width apart. So don't let the hip drop as you lift. And you should feel this exercise in the backs of the legs, the glutes, a little bit through the lower back. I'm losing all my hair. Don't forget to breathe. Don't hold on to your breath. Lateral thoracic breathing. So the rib cage expands. Rest whenever you need. Think about that. Engagement through the core, so the centering. Lateral thoracic breathing. Precision, flow, and control is another key element. At no point is this movement uncontrolled. That's 5 key elements we've talked about. The 6th one is concentration. To put all of those together takes concentration. Okay, if you haven't stopped already, rest. Don't forget rest whenever you need, but let's stop now and do a hamstring stretch. So nothing too wacky today, just all nice and simple and safe. Knee comes in, extend the leg up towards the ceiling, slide the opposite leg away. Keep this leg straight if you can. Very common mistake on this one is people trying to hold on to the back of the leg there. That's the bit we're stretching. Don't hold on to the bit we're stretching. Hands are either really high or really low there. Then change leg to the other side, knee in, extend up. You can lift your upper body if it feels more comfortable to do that. That's fine. Hold it there. And release. Okay, we're going to do another strength exercise here called bicycle. So with bicycle, again, I'll show you the easiest level. It's a core strengthening exercise. So the core needs to be set. Drawing in, transverse abdominis, pulling up pelvic floor. And then we can start with one leg, but the weight stays in the back stays in neutral, so the weight is in the tail. Don't push off that resting leg and begin to pedal that leg like a bicycle away from you, keeping the core set. So let's all start on this level. Resting leg is light, and you're almost relaxed through this pedaling leg. Let's do 6 on one leg, 6 on the other leg, but keep the pelvis still. Breathe nice and controlled. So you breathe out as you pedal away. Another quite common mistake on this one is going too quickly or overthinking the legs. The work is actually through the pelvis here. It's not really the legs. Okay, now you could do that again if you want. 6 and 6, have a rest. 6 and 6, or you can bring both legs into the equation and you can pedal with both legs relaxed, core set. Now, any problems with prolapse or hernia or hip issues, back issues, keep one foot on the floor, stay safe. And that's pretty much always the rule with prolapse or hernia. One foot stays down on the floor. Otherwise, it's just too much intra-abdominal pressure at the moment. And if there's anybody that does have any issues, particularly with prolapse, just drop me a direct message and I can give you some exercises and some tips to help with that one. But you should be feeling this one in the tummy. So don't have the legs too high towards the ceiling. Okay, they're not pedaling up here because the back wouldn't be in neutral. The back is in neutral and the legs are pedaling away from you. Rest at any time that suits you. As soon as you start to feel this in the back, you must stop, have a rest. You can always go again. You shouldn't be feeling it a lot in the hips. If you're feeling it in the hips, perhaps relax the legs a bit more and perhaps push the feet away from you a little bit more. Okay, that should be enough. Hug the knees in for a stretch and rock the knees from side to side. Okay, from there, feet down one at a time, roll over onto your side, and we'll do a little bit of side lying work. So, we're going to come down onto our side to do side leg circles.
So if you've got a pillow or a cushion, you can pop it under your head. If you haven't got a pillow, just fold your arm back as long as that's comfortable to support the head. And we're going to bring the waist lifts slightly away from the mat, so this top hip pushes away from you. Bottom leg is bent. Really push this top hip away from you, and the hand is just down at the hip on the mat. And you begin to circle the leg without disturbing the pelvis. So use your core to keep the pelvis nice and still. Almost relax the leg, otherwise it can come a bit tight down into the calf there. Let's do 6 one way, 6 the other way. You're probably done on about 6 there if you haven't been counting. And just try to make sure you're circling behind you as well as in front, but keep the pelvis still. Remember, push the hip away from you. My plant is tickling my foot. Keep the core set, pelvic floor lifted, and then take a rest. So we've done 6 and 6, and we can do another set. We can make this harder if you want to, or you can do exactly the same. To make it harder, you straighten both legs. You can flex the feet so the toes come towards me. Push the hip away from you. Take the hand up towards the ceiling, and again, without disturbing the pelvis, without moving through the upper body, that's quite hard. We're going to do 6 and 6, as well as pushing the hip away from you. So you should really feel this one here through the glute. It's going to give you a fabulous bottom. 6 one way, 6 the other way is absolutely fine. But remember, concentration. Concentration to stay still. Make sure the head is well supported so you're not feeling that tension up through the neck. And then release the knee in front and drop the shoulder back. Support the head. Favorite stretch of mine. The hand can be on the floor behind you, knee on the floor in front. But if that's too much, just place the hand on the hip. Okay, we are going to do a lateral plank with a twist. Now, let me show you, really important you watch this one to begin with before trying it, because if there's any problems on the shoulder, this won't work. But if you just watch to start with, base level, back in neutral, twist down, twist through. You can also do it up on the arm if you prefer. Twist down, twist through. Making it harder, you extend the top leg. Twist down, twist through. Harder again, you extend both legs, top foot in front, twist down, twist through. However, any problems with the shoulder, this could be a chest opener instead. Chest opener, knees bend, hand comes in front, support the head, inhale, hips stay still, drop the shoulder back, exhale, slowly back down to the floor. So choose the level that suits you. For me, not great on the shoulder at the minute, so I'm going to stay down low, elbow under shoulder. Remember now, waist lifts. This exercise is for the waist and the obliques. Okay, so we lift into that lovely neutral spine. Don't forget you can keep the legs bent if you want. And whichever one you're choosing, that's fine. We're going to do 8 in total and then have a rest. So it's quite heavy going, this one, so I wouldn't do tons of this one. I do 8 really good ones. Keeping the core set. Very good for building stability through the shoulder. But is it too much on the shoulder? Long arm is a little bit easier on the shoulder, but then harder on the wrist. Exhale as the hand comes down. Inhale as the hand comes up. Oh, sun's gone in. That's actually a little bit better. Oops. When we've done 8, we can do a mermaid stretch.
where the hand comes over towards the feet. I'm getting covered in grass here. So lovely stretch, hand to hip. Don't lean forwards, don't lean backwards. And then let's flip over to the other side for our single leg circles. So the precision element on this one is probably the most important. Keeping the hips still, the pelvis still, lift the waist, back comes into neutral. Starting off, pushing the hip away from you. 6 circles one way, 6 circles the other way. Don't let the hip roll back. The hips stay stacked. The core stays set. 6 one way, 6 the other way. And just concentrate on stabilizing. So there's no movement. This top hip isn't shortening towards the rib cage. Pelvic floor is lifted. When you've done 6 and 6, just take a rest. Drop the knee in front. You should feel that one here. Drop the shoulder back. Oh, there's the sun back. My tan's coming along nicely, I've got to say. And then we can do this again. You can make it harder. You can extend both legs, flex the feet. Hand comes away from the floor and circle. Core stays set. Oh, I'm getting blinded by the sun. I'm going to have to close my eyes. 6 one way, 6 the other way. But it's not about what the leg's doing. It's about what the pelvis and the rib cage and the torso's doing. Staying as still as you can. 6 one way. Make sure you're not leaning on this top elbow. I have a bad habit of doing that. And it actually should become really hard not to fall over. Use your core. Oh, really hard through the glutes. Rest whenever you need. And then drop the knee in front. Drop the shoulder back. Drop the hands back if you want to increase that stretch. Just be careful with that stretch. Any problems through the back, don't over egg it. From here, we can do our lateral plank with a twist. So we're doing 8. So work away, choose the level you did on the last side. Remember, the waist lifts for this one. The core is set for this one. Push down, push through. Exhale as the hand comes through. Inhale as the hand comes up. And your alternative, you're doing 8, but your alternative is the chest opener. So any problems through the shoulder or the neck, I wouldn't do that one. 8 in total is fine. Don't forget your levels, lots of options. We've also got that full lateral plank with a twist. Make sure the supporting arm is slightly bent. You can see I'm finding that really hard. It is hard. And when you've done 8, have a rest. Hand to hip, nice and long. And that's why it's really important that you choose the level that suits you so you can build your practice. Why would you be able to just do the top level straight away? Why would your body be able to do that? It wouldn't. You have to build it up. Okay, from there, it's time to stretch. We're almost done. So, within your workout, when you're doing your workouts online, number 1, don't miss your warm-up. Number 2, don't miss your cool down. The warm-up and the cool down are the bookends of any session, so you must do them. we've all got 50 million things waiting for us to do. Maybe not so much at the moment, but we've all got stuff that we want to get on with. That's what we're like, human nature, on to the next thing. It's important you still just take these extra 5 minutes, that part of the workout, to make sure you have a good stretch. So let's begin with a stretch for the inner thigh and the hip. So you can bring the soles of the feet together. It's really important you don't bounce your stretches. Really important that you take them to your limit. So soles of the feet together, and you can take the elbows onto the knees and then just gently press the knees open. You can also lean forwards a little bit with this one. But listen to your body, take the stretch to the point of tension, not pain. Regular stretches will relieve stress and they will make you more mobile. So they're really important. Hold your stretch still. You should feel that stretch on the inner thigh, lower back, underneath through the hips there. Okay, good. From there, I'd like you to take your legs out to one side. So the knee comes directly forwards, 90 degrees on this front knee. Other leg pushed out to the side wherever's comfortable. And we're going to do a side bend over towards the legs. And we're going to hold this one a little bit longer this time. So hand to hip, nice and long. If that doesn't work for you with the legs, that's fine. Just cross the feet and do the side bend. Take the legs out in front of you straight and do the side bend. So whatever suits you. Everybody's different. Just because I can do it doesn't mean you can do it, and vice versa. There'll be things you can do that I can't do. It's important you listen to your body. Keeping the legs where they are, you're going to take this opposite hand to the knee and the other hand down on the floor behind you, and we're going to turn and look behind you. And release. Let's take this leg that's out in front of you. Let's straighten that leg. Then cross the other foot over at the knee. The foot is on the floor. Draw the knee close towards you. Hug the knee in. And let's say your left leg is crossed. You're going to look to your left. Stay tall. If your right leg is crossed, you turn and look to your right. This is a lovely stretch through the hip and the glute. Keep that knee close, keep tall, hold it there. Then we're going to change the legs over. Hug the knee close, hug the knee in, turn hand behind you, look over the shoulders, stay tall. Then take the legs out to the other side. Front knee out in front of you, 90 degrees on this front knee. Back knee pushed back. And side bend to begin with, over the feet. So we've got that lovely mermaid stretch. Don't tip forwards, don't bend the arm. Nice and long. Keep the shoulder rotated back. Feel the stretch all the way down through the side there. And then we're going to turn and look behind you. Stay tall, hand to opposite knee, looking the opposite way to the legs. So if the legs are to the right, you're going to look to the left. And release. 2 more to do and we're done. I'm running you late. Okay, so nice and tall, we're going to bring one foot forwards and bring that knee over the ankle. Let's say your right leg is forwards. Left knee back, hands either side of the right leg, and sink the left hip in towards the mat. Make sure this knee isn't beyond the toes, and then square the hips off a little bit. So right hip back, left hip forwards. Gives you an opportunity, a chance to check out your toes. I keep promising myself I'm going to do my nail polish. Never get round to it. Now keep that foot forwards. In fact, wiggle that foot a little bit further forwards. Then take the weight back. Right foot lifts. Right leg straightens. You lower yourself over that right leg, but lift the chest. It's a hamstring stretch. So you feel that stretch through the back of the leg. Square the hips off again. Right hip back, left hip forwards. Then change leg. Hip flexor, left foot forwards, knee over ankle. Don't let that knee go too far. Sink the back hip in towards the floor. Square off, left hip back, right hip forwards. Then wiggle your left foot forwards a little bit. Foot lifts, draw the weight back, straighten the leg, lift the chest, but lower into that straight leg. You feel the stretch on the back of the leg there. Don't force it, don't bounce it. Never bounce stretches. Take it to the edge of your range of movement. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. You hold your stretches still for at least 10 seconds. And release. Child pose. Hands come behind you. Rounding through the back, dropping down towards your mat as long as that's comfortable. And then tuck the toes under. Push back onto the feet. Slowly push back into the legs and roll up. I'll come back to you in a sec. Oh, you can still see. Feet wide. Arms wide. Double arm circle. Oh, you should feel wonderful now. Opening through the chest with that circle. Hold it here. Fingertips a wiggle. Wrapping your arms around yourself and give yourself a hug and a squeeze and a pat on the back. So well done. I hope you enjoyed that.